Nitin today. Somebody remind me, guys, because I'll be preparing with some other documents. I'll be opening the documents for discussion. I'll forget to start recording. Okay. Um, no, recording how far it is important. It matters, of course, but I believe, in case if you want to quickly look into a particular discussion, you can have a look into those videos. That's the idea. I started the recording session. I really forgot. I really forgot, because as I said, my concentration will not be towards starting a record session, because I'll be opening some documents, opening the compiler. Okay, I'll be busy with that. I'll forget to start recording. Here we go. Let me start the. Let me share the screen document so that we'll start discussing. So last class we discussed index addressing mode. We saw the program also. We run the program in compiler, and we saw how the compiler adds the content of dptr and accumulator. So from that resultant location, data will be transferred into accumulator. It should be accumulator. It cannot be any other register. Okay. This of course, the advantage of recording, let us say somebody missed the class, or they could not join in time because of some internet issue or some other work, they can look into the video. If they're interested, they can browse it. They can have a look into the video. If any doubt, we can discuss. There's the advantage. There's one good thing in Google Meet, of course, in Zoom also we can record, but it is a 40-minute time limitation. One thing, and another thing is that we have our college domain email ID. In that, the recording, whatever we do in the class, it will be automatically loaded into our drive, college domain drive. So there is no space limitation. So recording. So I have so many recordings, for previous semesters also, other subjects also. So there is an advantage. Okay, let us start. Okay, without further ado, index addressing mode. Last class we discussed, so there are two possibility of index addressing mode: move C A comma at A plus dptr. So in this case, compiler or microcontroller will add the content of dptr plus accumulator. The resultant address number, whatever the number it generates, it is treated as an address. So this will be the target address. Okay, from this address, somebody is on the line. Okay, so from this address, data will be copied into internal register accumulator. Okay, so from this address, data will be copied into it has to be accumulated. It is a compiler specific. Okay, now we'll try to change it to some other register, like let us say B register or R0, R1, something like that. Let us see whether compiler is it okay with this some other register, or it has to be accumulator. As I said, this 8051 basically is a accumulator based microcontroller. Okay, it is accumulator based. What is accumulator based? Compiler or microcontroller expect everything to happen through accumulator. There are some microcontrollers which does not expect a single register, dependency. You can use any register. You can add, you can use any register R0, R1, R2, whatever it is. You can use any register for that purpose. That's all. It depends. It depends on the microcontroller. So I'll jump to the, what you call compiler. So actually, I was testing the PC. That will do it, of course. But first, I'll check whether. Let us check whether the compiler does it accepts any other target register other than accumulator. That let us check it now. Okay, so I'll change the register to, let us say, B register, for example, and I'll make it as dptr. So because last class we discussed dptr, today we will see the program counter. That also we'll check. Move. I'll take one example: dptr comma #1234h. Is correct? I think this is the program yesterday last class we saw. Of course, the target register was A last class. Now I have taken it as B. Let us see what happens when there is a B register. So first thing is you have to save the source code. Then actually when you do the build target, it will save it. Okay. But it's always a good practice, because now of course we are dealing with a single source code. Okay. Just a second. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we are dealing with a single source code. But when we actually go for a development of projects, embedded system, there will be multiple source code. Okay, in that case, we may run a particular source code at a particular instant of time. So it's always a good practice to save the file, save the source code before we execute the program. Okay, so it's always a good practice to save the file. Okay. Check for syntax errors. In fact, it is already giving an error. It says register operand expected on line number 5. That is this line, See, first 2 lines, the compiler is okay. This is a valid instruction. This is also valid instruction because it doesn't know our intention. Okay. But here the compiler has a problem. It says register operand expected. Where? At the target location. At the target location. Okay. Now the doubt is, whether it is at the target location or it's somewhere here. Let us change this also. Instead of instead of A plus DPTR, let us make it as B plus DPTR. Let us, this way we can learn a lot of things. More errors now. Okay. First is all the errors are on line number 5. Line number 5 has 3 errors: syntax error, and illegal factor. This is the first time I'm coming across this, this error, Okay, so what are the reasons, guys? One is this one, this source location cannot be B plus DPTR. So that's one thing, okay? And destination cannot be B. It has to be in both the places. It has to be accumulator, okay? Because as we understood just now that 8051 is a accumulator based microcontroller. Okay, so it expects B to be accumulator to be used everywhere. So it is a accumulator based microcontroller. Okay, so I'll change it to A. Okay, this one we saw last class. Let me not run this again. Now this we had seen earlier. Okay, so what we do now today in this class is let us check the PC program counter. Because we know that these 2 instructions are valid for index addressing mode. One is A plus DPTR, which gives the source location. At the same time, A plus PC also works. Okay, PC stands for program counter. Here it is. Okay, so let us check the program counter. So for program counter thing, this is not required. This DPTR is not required. I'll remove the line. I'll take this as A. Move A, 008. Okay, so DPTR I'll change it to PC. PC for program counter. So it is case insensitive. You can keep it capital PC or small PC. It doesn't matter. Assembly language is case sensitive. The reason for that is assembly language program, we don't use it for application development. It is just for the embedded application development. Here we go. Okay, what is the first step is? Each time you change the source code, save the file, check for syntax error. Okay, it's okay. Syntax errors, there are no errors because it's things are okay. I mean, all are valid instructions. Next step. Guess what is the next step is? A debug start session. Okay, here we go. Let's observe this now. Before we actually check the result, A I have reset to 0. So content of A is 00 H. Okay, sorry, 00 H. Okay, now what is the content of PC? First of all, okay, now before we do this, let us try to transfer some data to PC. Just like we did it for DPTR, let us try to transfer some data to PC. Let us see what does the compiler says. Okay, let us take this also before we actually run the program. So I change the source code, save the file, build target. Invalid register. Let's observe this. On line number 0, first line, that is this line, this line, it says invalid register because programmer cannot access PC program counter. Okay, whereas in other controllers, in ARM processor, in many other processor, the user can easily access PC program counter. But in 8051, microcontroller does not allow user or programmer to modify PC directly. It has to be modified by the microcontroller only, not by the user. Okay, so that's why this first line cannot be, and that I mean to say, PC cannot be directly modified. This is a invalid instruction. Okay, so save the file because I modified the source code. Build target. Okay, next is debug start session. Yeah, here we go. Let's observe now. Okay, I reset A to 00 because A00 is because this is easy for us to understand. Okay, to start with, that's why I'll take it as 00. We can try with other numbers also. Okay, you can check with other numbers also to make our discussions easy and simple. I'm taking A is equal to 00. PC. Guess what is PC? Guess what is PC? Guys, by the way, PC is a 16-bit register which points to next instruction to be executed by the microcontroller, which points to next instruction to be executed by the microcontroller. Okay, for example, if it is executing this instruction, let us say for example move a comma 00, PC will be already pointing to the next instruction. PC will be already pointing to next instruction. Okay, let's observe the internal code memory. This is the internal code memory. What is the content of code memory? Internal code memory. This is the code memory. Code memory. Okay, here you can see that there are operational codes, binary representation of the. Okay, there is a binary representation of the instruction. Okay, that is move this instruction move a comma 00 is converted into 7400h. In fact, it is 74h or 74h and 00h. 74 corresponds to move a instruction actually. 74 corresponds to move a, and 00 is the immediate data. 00 is the immediate data. Okay, so thereby if you see the bottom of this this window, that is the memory window. Yes, in fact I can raise this also. There's an issue. I can raise this, no problem, because let me adjust it so that you can comfortably view the yeah, here we go. So 74 is loaded at 0000 location. Okay, that is this 74. It is at the 00 location, and this 00 is at the 0001 location. Okay, sorry, this is overwritten. This will not be properly visible. Okay, so 00 is loaded at the address 0001. This location address is 0001 H address. Okay, in the next location, this instruction is loaded. That is binary representation of this instruction. What is the instruction? Is move C a comma at a plus PC. Okay, what does this instruction does? It will add the content of PC and accumulator, which determines the target address. From that target address, data will be copied into accumulator. Okay, this instruction compiler converts into a 8-bit hexadecimal number. Binary number which is represented in hexadecimal format as 83H. So where this 83H is stored, it is at the address 0002. 0002. So first location,
the instruction we are giving, that data is stored in RAM only, no?
No. It's a code memory.
ROM stored memory. In ROM.
ROM memory. Okay. Now the question here is why the microcontroller stores data in the ROM memory, not in the RAM memory. Okay. Let us first understand that. Okay. I'll slightly deviate from the index addressing mode discussion because first let us make this point clear. Okay. Generally, what we say, RAM is a data memory, correct? And ROM is a code memory. Code means instruction memory. Very simple. Okay. This RAM memory is a user space. What is user space means? User can store some data. Let's say I need to store some data. I'll use RAM memory. I don't use ROM memory to store the data, but microcontroller makes use of ROM memory to store the data as well as instruction. Why it is so? Why the microcontroller does not make use of RAM memory to store the data? The reason for that is, let us say for example, microcontroller stores code in the or instructions in the ROM memory, and data in the RAM memory. Let us say, for example, if that was the situation, if that was the manufacturer's idea, designer's idea, okay, this RAM memory is being accessed by the user space, because there is a user space. Microcontroller has stored some data in the RAM space. Accidentally, I'll modify this data, the data which was stored in the RAM space by the microcontroller. Since I have access to this RAM space, I'll modify the data. This data is modified. If this data is modified, microcontroller cannot run the instructions properly because the data is already modified. It needs to protect this data, which is required for the execution of a task. Execution of task means instructions. In our in our systems also we run many tasks. You're running a WhatsApp, for example. In fact, I'll show you. I'm running a Adobe, this Adobe file, for example. Okay, so that means in the background, in the RAM space, processor, my Intel laptop PC, processor is running this Adobe application. Okay, to run that application, the processor requires some data. Okay, so thereby the processor makes use of instruction as well as data to execute a task or instructions or particular program. So thereby this data should be protected from the user mishandling. So thereby this data has to be stored in the ROM space. One reason. Okay, this is first reason. Another reason is that these microcontrollers are used in embedded applications. What is embedded applications? I don't know. I don't remember whether I think we had discussed, some basic embedded application, like some examples like washing machine is what is embedded system base? Or to quickly define a embedded system. Embedded systems are those systems which are used for a particular purpose. Particular purpose means only one application, unique application, okay, specific application, and that is made of hardware and software. Example, washing machine, for example, or let us say you take oven, microwave oven, or let us say mobile phone for that matter. It is an embedded system, mobile phones, or let us say printers, for example. All these are what is known as a embedded system. This, what is the purpose of a printer? I don't use printer to warm up the food items. I use printer to print the document. Washing machine to wash the clothes. All these embedded systems are used for a particular purpose. I have a single purpose. Now in these embedded systems, what is requirement is that this ROM space should be very huge. Why? Because see, I don't use the memory space in washing machine to store my data. Washing machine, first of all, we don't know what processor is running inside the washing machine. We don't know. We don't have access to processor of the washing machine. Then where is the question of accessing the memory space of the processor inside a washing machine? No problem. I mean, ruled out. Okay. So thereby, the main task in all this embedded system is it will run a fixed task. Washing machine, it runs a fixed task. Oven, it runs a standard fixed program. It doesn't change for the lifetime of this oven. Only if it is damaged, we have to replace the processor or the memory. Printer, for example, it runs only, it knows only printing, nothing else. Maybe if it may have a scanning function, maybe otherwise it's limited functions. Okay, the ROM space in these embedded systems are bigger than the RAM space. That's why in 8051 microcontroller, guys, I'll erase this. It's okay. In 8051 microcontroller, that's why this RAM space, there is a RAM memory. It is only 128 bytes. It's only 128 bytes. 128 bytes. Whereas ROM memory is very huge. What is the size of ROM memory? Maximum it can go up to 64 kilobyte. But because of the space, space constraint, manufacturer will go for only 4 kilobytes. I mean, for simple applications, it is sufficient. Like motor control. At home we have motor control. No? That is when water level in the overhead tank goes down below some critical level, motor will automatically turn on. When it reaches some particular higher level, it will automatically turn on. That's all. For such application, 8051 microcontroller is sufficient, and this amount of memory is sufficient. Okay. So thereby, for all these applications, ROM memory is bigger than the RAM memory, and this ROM memory is completely controlled by the processor or controller. Thereby, data is also stored in the ROM memory, not in the RAM memory. And RAM memory is also used by the user. And there is always a problem that this user may accidentally or intentionally may modify the data. If that is done, microcontroller cannot run the task properly. Okay, so that's why in this case, I need to open this where I was actually. Yeah, in this case, we are storing, the microcontroller is storing the data. That is, for example, in this example, it is somebody. Okay, no problem. Okay, so in our case, the 7400 move a comma 00 00 is the data. This data is not stored in the RAM space. It is not stored in the RAM space. It is stored in the ROM space. I think, does that answer your question? The arcade. Sorry, I don't know who has asked.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all. Okay, this is the idea. Okay.
So we are designing the ROM here.
No. We are not designing.
I mean, feeding instructions to the ROM.
We are giving instruction to the microcontroller, and those instructions are stored in the ROM space. That's why if you see this, what I'm observing the content of code memory C. Let me erase all this, because it's totally, yes. Let us come from this point. This is code memory. C for code memory. That is ROM space, where the instruction as well as data is. What is instruction? Move A. Move A is the instruction. 00 is the data. So thereby it will convert move A into 74H. That is the binary representation of the instruction, because it cannot store move A. See, move A is the English mnemonic which we can understand. See, in the program I cannot write, because see, if it is 1 or 2 numbers I can remember. I cannot write in the program, let us say, 74H. I cannot say 74H comma 00. Not possible. Okay, it's not that easy to write the program in binary language. That's why we write like this, move A, so that I can understand, I can remember this. Okay, but compiler has to convert this into binary number. That is 74H, and this data is stored as it is. So first it will store the. Okay, now here the question is, why first it stores the instruction and then it stores the data? Why it could have stored like this? Instead of storing like this, it could have stored it as 00 and 74. Why it is 74 plus and then 00? The reason for that is this. What happens like this, I'll tell you. Okay, this also let us understand. Okay, let us say this is the ROM space, what we just saw now. ROM space. In this ROM space, in the first location there is the location 0000 and next location 0001. In the first location 74 is stored, and in the next location 00 is stored. 00 is stored. This is the equivalent binary representation for the instruction move A comma hash 00H. Hash 00H. Maybe it could have done like this also. Like for example, it could have stored 00 first and then 74. Why it is not done like this? Why it is not done like this? Let us understand it. Okay, because the reason for that is, microcontroller start execution from the location where it is pointed by PC. PC points to the first location. Okay, the first location should consist of the instruction. Why? Because when microcontroller execute this instruction 74H, it will convert this into, it understands that it is a move instruction and that target destination is A. It's a move instruction and destination is A. And it will go to the next location, that is PC. PC increments by 1. It points to the next location. From this location, it will take the data available and it will treat it as a immediate data. Immediate data means move A comma hash 00. Move A comma hash 00H. In case, if the data is stored, for example, let us say data is stored first, then comes the instruction. Okay, compiler points to the microcontroller, fetches the data from the first location, that is 00. It will fetch the data. It doesn't know what to do with the data. See, command. Let us say I'll ask somebody to do some, I asked you to remind me, to start the recording. Okay, you reminded me that that instruction is converted into action. First should come the instruction, not the data. Only if there is an instruction, then it knows what to do. If first itself the data comes, compiler doesn't know what to do. Microcontroller doesn't know what to do. Okay, so thereby first data should always be, or first number should always be instruction, then should come the data. Then in the next immediate location, data should be stored. Okay, so that is the reason why in the first location we will have the instruction, in the next location we will have the data. Okay, so this is 74 and 00 is stored in the address 0000 and 0001. In the next location, there is 0002. 83 is stored. 83 corresponds to move C A comma at A plus PC. Since in this instruction there is no immediate data, because it is an example of indexed addressing mode. The instruction will have only 8-bit operational code. It has only 8-bit operation. All instructions has only 8-bit operational codes represented as opcodes. 8-bit operational codes. Okay, so 83. Please observe this. When the microcontroller is executing this instruction, that is move C A comma at A plus PC, where the PC is pointing to? PC is pointing to the next location. That is this address. That is 0003. Okay. Of course, there is no instruction. PC does not know. Microcontroller does not know. It is checking whether is there any instruction in the next location. In this location, the content is 0. Okay, content is 0. Okay, that is represented as, if you observe this disassembly window, gets a little more detail. Those absence of instruction is represented by an instruction called as NOP. NOP is in fact is the instruction. NOP. NOP stands for no operation. This we'll discuss when we take up the instruction set. This is very simple anyway. No operation. Anyway, that's all. Okay. So what we have to do in our program now is, we need to add the content of PC and accumulator to find out the target address. What is the PC content here? What should be? Is it 0002 or 0003? It should be 0003, because when this instruction is being executed, that is move C A comma T A plus PC, PC is already pointing to next instruction. That is content of PC is 0003. Okay, so thereby it will add 0003 to accumulator. The content of accumulator is 0000. Sorry, 00 only. It's 8-bit data. 00. So what is the result is? Result is something else is opening. Okay. So what is the result? Result is 0003. Okay. So now what we do is, in the address, in the location 0003, I'll store some data. Let me store some example. You take any data, please. Okay. What should happen now is, from this target address of 0003, data should be transferred to accumulator. Data should be transferred to accumulator. Okay, because according to this instruction, the source location is pointed by A plus PC. The data from that location should be transferred to accumulator. Okay, very simple. Let us run the program now. I'm still in debug session. When I run the program, we'll go to the run session. Debug, run. Okay, you can check that. You can observe that whatever the data we loaded at the location 0003, that is now transferred into the accumulator 06. So accumulator content is 06. So that's how the indexed addressing mode works. Yes, is that okay, guys? Is that clear? So indexed addressing mode means, what is the purpose of indexed addressing mode? To read the data from the code memory. Okay, we make use of what is known as a indexed addressing mode. We make use of indexed addressing mode. Yes, I hope this is clear, guys. Because this is we have two possible cases. One is using the DPTR, the other is using the PC. Okay, fine. So next I'll jump to the next addressing mode called as a relative addressing mode. Okay, so what is relative addressing mode? Relative addressing mode is used whenever there is a jump instruction. Okay, yes, right now we are not we don't know what is a jump instruction, but to easily understand, in the C language you have an instruction called as go to. Correct? In C language you have a keyword called as go to. Go to some destination address using which is represented using some name. There is a loop, for example. Okay, it will automatically jump to this target address. Similarly, in assembly language program, we can make use of some instruction to take a jump to. That means it is executing the instructions like this continuously. I mean, in a particular order. There can be some jump instruction. Okay, example is SJMP. SJMP stands for short jump. SJMP stands for short jump. Okay, so when we include a jump instruction, jump instruction, and to the argument for this jump instruction is a target address. Target address. How do we specify the target address? By using a name. For example, let us say I call it as L1. L1 is the name of the loop or name of the address. Okay, let us say L1 is somewhere here. L1. Okay, it will jump to that particular address. It will continue the execution from that particular address. That's what it is. Okay, yes, for timing, let us not go in detail because we need to discuss the jump instruction in detail. That will do later. So this is what is known as a relative. Why it is called as a relative? No, why not something else? Relative means, sorry, what is this? Just a second. Suddenly another window opened. Okay, what is the meaning of relative? Is that with respect to PC? This I'll explain this. What is this relative? What is the meaning of a relative? Okay, so let us say, for example, there are some n number of instructions we have written. We have written, let us say, for example, 10-line code. Okay, in this code, one of the line is a jump instruction, SJMP L1, for example. What is L1? Name of the loop or name of the target address. This L1 can be at the previous instruction L1, or it can be at a later instruction. Okay, so let us say this is instruction number 1, the line number 1. Similarly, this line number, let us say 10, for example. Okay, so with respect to this jump instruction, target address may be at the lower end of the program, or it is at the higher end of the program. Okay. Okay. Now, how do we identify? So this program is loaded. Let us take it like this. This is not the first line. For example, let us say this is the first line because this is a lower address. Address is 0000, and this is the higher address. This is the higher address. Okay. So with respect to address, with respect to this address convention, this target address L1 may be at the higher address point, or this L1 may be at the lower address point. Anything is possible. We'll check both the cases. Okay, in detail, no problem. Okay. When the compiler is executing, how does the compiler execute the instruction? Is first it will execute the first instruction at the lowest address. After that, it will go to the next instruction. Like this, it continues. Next instruction. When it executes SJMP instruction, PC is already pointing to the next line, next instruction. PC is already pointing to next instruction. Okay. Now, what happens is that with respect to this PC, what is PC? There is program counter. With respect to the PC means with respect to the instruction which is pointed by the PC, this target address to where the microcontroller will jump maybe at a higher address or maybe at a lower address. This range is called as relative range. This range is called as a relative range. What is relative? What is relative? Relative with respect to PC. Relative with respect to program. Say, for example, let us say I'm standing at a particular point. Let us say this distance is some 1 kilometer, for example. Okay, so I'm standing with somewhere here this point. I need to take 10 steps. Okay, let us say this is a forward direction, this is a backward direction. With respect to my current position, I may take 10 step forward or 10 step backward with respect to my current position. Similarly, with respect to PC, relative to this instruction pointed by PC, the jump may be in the forward direction or backward direction. That's why this kind of instruction which will make the microcontroller jump to a particular instruction is called as relative addressing mode. What is relative? Relative with respect to PC, program counter. That's how it is. Okay, so we'll discuss the instruction in detail later, guys. Okay, so let us not bother about there are one example is given, JC, jump if carry. Okay, so there are many instructions we'll see later. Okay, let us not bother about that instruction now. Next addressing mode is called as a absolute addressing mode. What is absolute addressing mode? Okay, absolute addressing mode. Guys, I'll take one simple example for this. Absolute addressing mode. Let us go back to this program. Let us write the program. This in C language, for example, let us compare with respect to C language. Easy to understand. Okay, you have a function. Yes, correct. In C language. This I have a question now. Okay, in C language, let us say there is a main function. There is a main function, okay, and there is a sub function. Let me call it as f1, for example. I'm calling a function f1, okay, with some argument, okay. The compiler turbo C, for example, it is running the main function. It comes across a function call. It jumps to the function f1 by the name f1, okay. It is running f1, okay. After running f1, how does it will go back to the main program? This, can somebody answer this question, please? The question I'll repeat again. I have a function called as f1, which is inside, which I'm calling inside the main function. Okay. Compiler, what it should do is, whenever this function is executed, it should go to this function f1 in the program. It should execute the function f1. After executing the function f1, it should come back to the main function and it should continue the main function. How to specify the end of a function? Yes, can somebody answer this question, please? No, just to check, I mean, C language, status, maybe because you guys can do some, revision in C language, so that it's very important. C language is very, very important. The Python is based on C, Python programming. So knowledge of C is definitely important for any engineers. Yes, can somebody answer this? Very simple. I think the question is clear, I guess. Main function is calling a function f1. How does the compiler knows, or how do we specify the end of the function? Yes, anybody? This is that, I mean, the function concept, I guess not clear. Okay, anyway, no problem. Here we go. Okay, guys, in C language, we know that, the start of a function is specified by the opening curly bracket, and end of the function is indicated using the closing curly bracket. Okay, when function is called, it will jump to the function, it will execute the function. When the closing curly bracket is executed, or compiler, whenever it comes across closing curly bracket, it will automatically understand that there is the end of the function f1. It will go back to the main function. It will go back to the calling function. So to be more technical, to be more logical, it may not go back to main function. It will go back to the calling function, whichever the function is calling. Because within f1, I may call one more function f2. Within function f1, I'll call f2. Then it will go to f1. After executing f2, it should go back to f1. It cannot go back to main function. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so that's how the C program handles the functions. Similarly, in assembly language program, yes, by the way, what is the advantage of functions in C languages? What is the advantage of functions in C language? Anybody? Or is that out? Function was not there in the syllabus in C first year C. There was no function concept was not there in the syllabus. Okay, so functions are.
You can only write two. I mean, rewriting is avoided.
Correct.
Once
Okay.
right
Correct. Set of instructions, can be executed repeatedly just by calling the function. Just by, let's say f1, I need to execute this 10 lines, 10 maybe n number of times. Instead of repeating that 10 lines in the main function, what we do is we'll group these 10 lines in a function and we call that function f1. We'll call for that. Correct. The answer is correct. Okay. Similarly, in assembly language programming, okay, repeated instruction to be executed by the microcontroller are grouped inside a entity called as subroutine. It is called as subroutine. We do not call it as a function in assembly language program. We call it as a subroutine. Okay. How do we call function in C language, guys? By the name. For example, f1 is the name of the function. We'll call f1 and bracket. If there is any argument, you can give some argument to the function. If there is no argument, no problem. We'll just specify the open bracket and the close bracket. If there is no open and close bracket, compiler does not understand whether it's a function or not. It will. If there is no, let us say, this bracket is not there, compiler thinks it is a variable. Okay. Compiler thinks f1 is a variable. If you use a bracket, compiler understands it is a function. That's okay. Similarly, in subroutine assembly language program, what happens is that to execute, say, a number of lines repeatedly, we'll group those functions inside what is known as a subroutine. Okay, let's say return some subroutine. Let me call the subroutine as delay. Some subroutine by the name, just like function name. In C language, we have the function name. In the assembly language program, we have the subroutine name, code. Not semicolon, it is a colon. The instructions within the subroutine. After executing the instruction, to go back to the calling function, there is main program. Okay, we use the instruction called as RET. We'll discuss this return instruction later. RET stands for return instruction. Okay, in this main program, we need to call the subroutine. Just like in C language, we call the function. In assembly language program, we need to call the subroutine. To call a subroutine, 8051 microcontroller provides two instructions called as ACALL and LCALL. ACALL and LCALL. ACALL stands for, ACALL. Let me write somewhere here. Okay, ACALL and LCALL. ACALL stands for absolute call. A stands for absolute call. Absolute call. Okay, and LCALL stands for long call. Long call. Because there is a difference between these two, and which we discuss when we take up the instruction in detail. Okay, so for time being, you understand that in assembly language program, there are two that depends on the microcontroller. For example, in 8051, this ACALL is called as a jump, absolute jump. Jump stands for absolute jump, which is equivalent to ACALL, absolute jump. Okay, there is one more instruction called as ACALL. ACALL is also used, and there is a LCALL also, long call. Okay, so there are basically three instructions are used. These instructions, there is jump, ACALL, LCALL. It is used to call the subroutine. It is used to call the subroutine. And these instructions comes under what is known as absolute addressing mode. Why it is absolute? Why not something else? Absolute because this name of the loop, subroutine, name of the similar to functions in C language, corresponds to target address. Okay, what is target address in subroutine, guys? Target address is the first instruction of the subroutine. Let us say delay is a subroutine, colon, the first instruction. The address of the first instruction of a subroutine is used as part of this instruction, that is jump. Let us say delay. For example, jump delay. This delay is replaced by the address of the first instruction of the subroutine. Okay, since it straight away specifies the address of the first instruction of a subroutine, address means absolute address. Absolute address of the instruction. This kind of addressing mode is called as a absolute addressing mode. Because in fact, in the C language also it happens the same. When you call F1 function, it actually replaces this instance with the actual code of the function. I think this, I don't know whether you have studied in C language, but I suggest you to go through that concept base. C language concept is really essential. Okay, I suggest you, in case if you have some free time, seriously suggest to revise your C language. I mean, revise means I'm not telling you are not studying. Maybe many more things. Because always we have the syllabus. Syllabus does not include everything, so we need to learn little more than syllabus. Okay, fine. So absolute addressing mode. When we take up the instruction, we discuss these things in little detail. Let us not go into detail of this. So this is called as a absolute addressing mode. There is one more addressing mode called as a long addressing mode. Long addressing. In fact, LCALL I included in the subroutine absolute addressing mode. For short jump, two instructions are used. That is jump and ljump. For short distance subroutine call. For long distance subroutine call, two instructions are used, ljmp and lcall. Okay. For short distance, absolute addressing mode. Okay, and for long distance subroutine call, okay, what is this long addressing mode? Long means it is not, I'm not calling from here, and the subroutine is somewhere 10 kilometers away, not like that. Okay, so what is this long addressing mode? Because what is the size where the instructions are stored with in microcontroller? It is stored in the ROM space. Okay, the size of the ROM space can go up to maximum of 64 kilobytes. Maximum of 64 kilobytes. What is the meaning of 64 kilobytes? There are totally 65,536 number of locations in the memory locations in the ROM space. This I'll take just 5 more minutes. Okay, with this I'll wind up. Okay, so there are because you'll have, I think, labs also in the afternoon. Okay, yeah. So there are 65,536 locations. 65,536 locations. Let's say this is my first address 0000, and this is the last address of FFH. Okay, and now somewhere here I got an instruction. Let us say, for example, I'll take the instruction as AJump, or a call for it, or a call or AJump, whatever it is, a call and target address, a call target address. If this target address is within some range, what is that range? Is within 128 locations. Within what is 128 location is with respect to PC. Let's see, when this instruction is being executed, PC is pointing to the next location. PC is pointing to, let us say, for example, this location is 1000. For example, this location is 1000, where AJump or a call instruction is stored. PC is pointing to 1001 location. Is correct? One location ahead of this 1000. Okay, 1001 location. PC is pointing to this location. With respect to this location, if the target address is within 128 locations range, okay, for example, if I'm standing here, if my target jump distance is, let's say, 10 meters or 1 meter, I can't jump 10 meters. Let us say 2 meters, for example. Okay, so within some range, within some distance, okay, if the target address is within a distance of 128 memory locations, that is called as relative addressing mode. That is called as relative addressing mode. Okay, whereas if the target address is anywhere within the 65,536 location, within anywhere within the 65,536, for example, let us say AJump location is at the 1000 location, and the target address, let us say, is at the last location of FFH. It can take a jump from this point to this point. So for that, we have to make use of LCall or LJMP instruction. With AJump or ACall, it is not possible, because AJump ACall maximum range is only 128 locations. That is called as a relative addressing mode. If you want to take a jump anywhere within the ROM space, then we need a longer range. So for that, we have to go for a what is known as LCall or LJMP instruction, which is called as a long addressing mode. That's all. Very simple. Which is called as a long addressing mode. Okay, these things may not be very clear at this point in time. You need not worry. For timing, you understand that absolute addressing mode and long addressing mode. The difference is that in terms of range. For example, there is some more details, like it can be in terms of pages. In terms of pages. Okay, let's explain that pages now. Okay, what happens in case of a absolute addressing mode is that, guys, okay, I'll explain this concept. There is absolute addressing mode. Just a second, I'll explain this. Okay, there are 64 kilobytes. 64 kilobytes of locations. Divide by 2 kilobytes. What is the result? Is 64 kilobytes divided by 2 kilobytes? It is 32. That means compiler treats the internal ROM space. This is the internal ROM space as set of pages. Set of what is known as pages. The size of each page is 2 kilobyte. Okay, so this is the first page, this is the second page. Okay, like this, there are totally 32 pages. Why? Because 64 kilobytes divided by 2 kilobytes. Okay, now let's say, for example, What is relative jump is that if the a jump or a call instruction is somewhere in one page, a jump or a call, for example, okay, in one page, the target address should also be within the same page. A call, a jump, target address should also be within the same page. That is called as a relative addressing mode. If the target address is anywhere in any page, okay, then we cannot use a jump or a call. We have to use L call or L jump instruction. L call, oh, sorry, this one I'll hide it. Okay, L call or L jump instruction. L jump instruction. It's why I did not discuss in terms of pages is because this pages concept is true if the internal RAM space is 64 kilobytes. But practical hardware, what happens in a practical situation, it will be only 4 kilobytes. See, total RAM space is only 4 kilobytes. If we divide it into two, you'll get only 2 pages. You'll get only 2 pages. There is no question of 32 pages. Okay, that's why in fact I did not discuss that. For 4 kilobytes of memory, the range is 128 locations. The range is 128 locations. What we discussed previous to this, that is true for a jump or a call. For L jump, L call, that is for long jump, long distance, long addressing mode. It is anywhere within the memory. That is anywhere within the 4 kilobytes of memory. Okay. Whereas if the memory is 64 kilobyte, then this pages concept comes into picture, where one page is equal to 2 kilobytes. Yes, okay. So that's what explained here. This pages concept will take up later when we discuss the instruction in little detail. Okay. So that's what explained. 2 pages, 2 kilobyte per page. So totally there will be 32 pages. How to access the page? That is using the address that we'll see later. Let us not go into that detail now. This is, I believe, it is little too early to discuss. This I think it's already time. I think this we are left with only 2 addressing mode. I'll finish up this, because let us not continue with the addressing mode in the next class. Just another 2-3 minutes. That's all. Bit inherent addressing mode. What is bit inherent addressing mode? Guys? The instruction which handles 1 bit of data. Example, we have one instruction here, clear instruction, CLR. CLR stands for clear instruction. Okay, this instruction can be used to clear 1 bit of location or 8 bit of location. 8 bit of location. Let us say we need to clear carry flag. Okay, how to do that? The instruction is CLR C. Sorry, let me write properly. There is no space between a CLR, small space C. Okay, there is an instruction clear C. It will clear the carry flag to 0. If it is already set to 1, if it is already 1, it will reset it to 0. If it is already 0, it will retain it at 0. Clear flag. Similarly, we have instruction called as set instruction. Okay, set B. Set B is the instruction. Set means set it to 1. B corresponds to bit location. Set B C, it will set the carry flag to 1. It will set carry flag to 1. That's all. Okay, that is called as bit inherent addressing mode. Why? Because it will handle 1 bit of data, 1 bit of locations. To be more specific, it is 1 bit of locations. There is what is known as a bit direct addressing mode. Guys, observe this. What is the difference between this bit inherent addressing mode and bit direct addressing mode? Guys, it's very simple. Bit inherent addressing mode, we use the name of the locations. For example, carry flag, we use C. To handle this, what is bit addressing mode? Guys, bit addressable memory. Quickly jump to the, let us say, bit addressable memory. Guys, there is. In fact, I have this in this document also. It is neatly given in this document also. Let us look into that now. Just 2 more minutes. I know we are getting there. Yeah, here we go. Yes, there is what you call okay. This is okay. Yes, there is a bit addressable memory that we have discussed in more detail. Bit addressable memory, which ranges from 20H to 2FH. Yes, let us say I want to set one of this location to 1. Or I want to set one of this location to 0. How to do this? This location does not has a name. It has only address. Okay. To handle this 1 bit locations of bit addressable memory, we have a separate addressing mode called as bit direct addressing mode. We have a separate addressing mode called as bit direct addressing mode. Where it is, guys? I think I jumped a little too far. Okay, we have a separate addressing mode called as bit direct addressing mode. Okay, bit direct addressing mode means address is part of the instruction, just like a direct addressing mode. What is a direct addressing mode? Address is part of the instruction. Similarly, bit direct addressing mode, for these bit handling instructions clear and set B, address is part of this instruction. This address corresponds to this ROM, bit addressable memory, these locations. It corresponds to these locations. Okay, whereas bit inherent addressing mode corresponds to 1-bit locations, of course, but it corresponds to those locations which has a name. For example, carry bit, or it may be auxiliary carry, something like this. Okay, so bit locations which has a name, those instruction comes under bit inherent addressing mode. Inherent means it is understood. If I say carry, its address is understood. Compiler knows the address of carry bit. Whereas these bit addressable memory locations does not has a name, then I need to specify particular address. Then we make use of what is known as a bit direct addressing mode, where address is part of the instruction. Where address is part of the instruction. Yes, I think we it is time now. Okay, this ends the discussion on the addressing mode. From the next class, we start with the instruction set, because there is a lot of things we have to understand in instruction set. There are various possibilities. We'll discuss each one of them in detail. We may have to spend a few classes on that. We'll do that. Okay. Okay. Yes, it's time. Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Sir, the one last doubt. This the move R0 comma some data is there. So that is RAM space. Huh?
Correct. That's correct. Your point is correct. If I say move A comma hash 00h, for example, on the example here, this A is the RAM space. Okay. Other possibility is that move X. This X corresponds to
external memory.
External memory. Okay. Move C. C corresponds to
flag.
Code memory or ROM location. C stands for code. C stands for code memory or ROM locations. That means we have separate move instruction for each type of memory. That is RAM memory, ROM memory, as well as external memory. This external memory can be either RAM memory or ROM memory. It can be both. It can be both at a time, and it can be individually RAM memory or ROM memory. That we'll see later. No problem. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Stay home, stay safe, take care. Okay. See you all in the next class. Bye. Good day.